Hello YouTubers, and like so many people I am echoing this because I've heard it so many times said since the news broke. This is a video I honestly thought I would not have to make for some considerable time at the very least. Who knows if YouTube would have even existed at the time I thought I was going to make it. Unfortunately, today's video is a sad one, and we are paying tribute to a super blind man. The super blind man. Now, legend is an overused word these days, especially in this country, in the UK, and to be honest, I really wish it wasn't, because this guy was a real legend. I'm talking about Brandon Cole, who passed away very sadly yesterday, that being June 29th. I'm recording this on June 30th. I've known Brandon on and off for a number of years, since 2006 or thereabouts. Maybe a little later, maybe 2007. I'll tell it like it is, we were not close friends, but we were friends. Certainly closer at one point than we were in the last years of his life. And despite us not being close, Brandon was the type of man who made an impression in everyone just by talking to him. He was an exceedingly generous man. He had time for people. He was not a possessive man in any of the outlets that he worked in, and I'm going to get onto all of that. He had a love of success. He had a love of not only his success, but other people's. He loved making people happy. And there were times in his videos where I would be thinking, oh, geez, Brandon, just get on with it. Stop fooling around. But now, like with so many things that we take for granted, now it's lost. Now it's gone. We're not going to have that back again. We're not going to have that zany, slightly geeky personality doing these mammoth streams for us. That forever giving accessibility consultant, that yes to every interview man, that man who will give you just that extra hour just to make sure this works to the best of his ability, that impartial man who will be honest but kind, who will be blunt but fair, and who will stand up for the underdog. I first met Brandon playing on a poker site called All In Play, which at the time was run by Paul Silver, and I met him in a Crazy Eights tournament. All things, we weren't playing poker that day. We were playing Crazy Eights and horsing around, having fun. And he recognised my internet handle, Cactus Jack, and we got talking about wrestling. Brandon was at that time a great wrestling fan, as I was myself, and I think he still was at the time of his death. I most certainly have gotten back into wrestling, but he told me he ran an E-Fed, and I said, what's that? And he said, it's basically a fantasy wrestling league, and he very generously hooked me up with the SWA, the Skyfall Wrestling Alliance. It was then I got to chat with Misty. We had many of the Skype chats, and we came up with this great character for me to act out for this league. It was all done by text. There was no imagery, so it was accessible. But then I came up with an idea, and for a while I put it off for the longest time. And then I said, Brandon, I'm not very good at writing. Can I do my wrestling promos in audio form and send them to you? And instead of sort of going, oh, that's going to take ages, his immediate answer was, oh, yes, absolutely, yes. He said, because I'd done a couple before, and we'd done some interview, and we had such laughs in the interviews, except for maybe one, which maybe got a little too close to home. But we forgave and did a different interview. In the end, I left because it wasn't for me. And at that point, Brandon and I sort of moved in separate directions. We also worked for an online theatre company called Darker Projects. We worked together in a production there. Again, straight there, Jack, I think you would be good in this part. Are you interested? Again, not thinking of his own success, just looking to, as we say in wrestling parlance, put somebody over. And in fact, wrestling was the inspiration for one of his many gaming achievements, the Break Down Walls podcast. And of course, Break Down the Walls, Chris Jericho's theme. And he did that for a lot of years with Mike, a.k.a. Sturlock. And he inspired a lot of blind gamers to, make themselves heard, to do these surveys that games companies put out. Brandon was the first one to unveil the Xbox and PS5 accessibility, and it's thanks to Brandon I now own a PS5. It's thanks to Brandon I now own a fairly old Xbox. It's thanks to Brandon I'm able to play a racing car game. Something I wanted to do for over 30 years. Brandon helped make that dream come true with the Forza team, make Forza Motorsport. He spent hours making that game accessible. He helped make Mortal Kombat, the reboot, accessible, with its own screen reader. Worked alongside NetherRealm Studios. He had a hand beta testing The Last of Us 1 and 2. He was always reviewing games even before accessibility was a thing. I remember one time I got stuck in one of the SmackDown versus Raw games, and I asked, would you mind giving me a bit of help? Not only did he give me a bit of help, he wrote out move for move what I should do on the joypad. It's the kind of guy he was. And friends, I'm lousy at keeping in touch with people, but he after the Break Down the Walls, he moved to YouTube, moved to Twitch. I was constantly checking his channel for reviews and videos and demonstrations. If Brandon played it, and he said he didn't need any sighted assistance, there was a good chance I was going to buy that game. He also appeared on In Touch, our disabilities programme on BBC Radio 4. Was I jealous? Yeah. I kind of wish they'd asked me as well, as an experienced gamer. But Brandon had consulted with these people, and he was absolutely the right person to talk to. And he wasn't different. Brandon was Brandon. Superblindman was Superblindman at all times. And in 25 years of talking to people all around the world, he's one of the ones I'll never forget. For his kindness, for his passion for gaming, for his comedy. If you thought you were getting too big for your boots, he could make you look an idiot in 2 minutes. As he did with me in the SWA a couple of times. But remember, I was your first British heavyweight champion. No, I'll say it. Intercontinental champion. We never met in person. Myself, Brandon and Misty never actually met up. It almost happened. I was in Ohio at one point, but then it sort of fell by the wayside for this reason and that reason. As I say, we moved in different directions, but make no mistake, my friends, blind gamers out there, if it wasn't for this man, you and I would not own PS5s. We would not be playing a race car game that was mainstream accessible. We owe a lot to this man. Took him for granted in some cases, in my case, I think, and one or two others. And now he's gone. Now he's been taken from us too soon. Brandon will always be cool, and you can sign it Sabbath. Farewell, my friend.
sswa proudly presents In the Squared Circle. Here's your host, Brandon Be Cool Pro.
Hello and welcome. This is edition number 11 of In the Squared Circle, featuring me, Be Cool, Brandon Be Cool Cole. And I just want you to know that was me playing the guitar back there. I'm just kidding, it wasn't. I wish it was, but you can't have everything, you know. I'm trying to be all this big talented dude, and all I've got is wrestling and managerial skills, and dagnabbit, the VP of the SWA status. What does that say? It says I'm a pretty cool dude. Alright, anyway, we've got quite a show for you today, because it is packed. And it is mostly packed because of the Edge recap, which is going to be huge! Huge. Very huge. Very large Edge recap. It's going to take me like 25,000 hours to just describe everything that happened on this edition of Edge. But also, we have another promo that was sent to me, which was really cool. And to any of the superstars listening, you know, send your promos. They're good. They're fun. Do it. Okay? Just do it. And then we also have an interview, and we also have the new segment. I will tell you that both the promo and the interview are going to feature Jack the Satanist Sabbath. So the promo is his, and the interview will also be his. So yes, our total and complete summary of the show, you know, we'll have SWA news, You Rule You Suck. I think we'll put the promo right after You Rule You Suck. And then we'll move into the You've Got Mail segment, and then we'll move into the Edge recap, and then we'll move into the interview. Holy cow. Alright, it's gonna be a good show. Hope y'all like it. Stick around. So, sswa news. I think I can get through this really quickly because there's practically nothing to say here, so here we go. In fact, it is the upcoming pay-per-view this month, after which we will embark upon a global tour of the entire world, spanning across the UK, Japan, and all sorts of wonderful places like that, which I actually argue with Crystal about, but and then it's resolved. And Edge this past week was total slobber knocker. which we'll get to later because that's for the Edge recap and not for SWA News. So, with that, we're just going to move on to the next segment, which is You Really Suck, and I hope you really enjoyed SWA News because this is really all it is, and there's nothing else to say. I'm not going to waste your time. 5 minutes was last time, and this time is going to be only one, so stay tuned!
Whoa, before you get started, I have something to say. One look is depressing.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for your favorite segment, You Rule, You Suck.
Ooh, can I watch?
Yes, Randall, you can watch. Sorry. I it's just a sound effect. I had to throw it in there. Clerk's reference. Be happy. Anyway. We're going to start off this particular You Rule, You Suck with the Rule Awards, because the people that ruled deserve to know they rule first. So, you see, this all depends on my mood. If I'm in a good mood, you start with the You Rule Awards, but if I'm in a terrible mood, you start with the You Suck Awards. Alright? There. Now you know how to gauge my mood. Alright, so our first You Rule Award is going to go to McGoldrick. Because, man, that barbed wire and brimstone match on this past week's Edge was amazing. And his promo was too. But I mean, this is mostly about the match. That was awesome. Awesome display of martial arts and the ability to dish out pain. So, McGoldrick, this week...
Hey, I'm a firm believer in the philosophy of a ruling class, especially since I rule.
Okay, our second You Rule Award goes to Stevie Cora. Because, quite frankly, I love seeing displays of total and complete ownage like that. Okay? And that's why he's getting this award. And there's really nothing more that I have to say about it. He totally owned TNT, and that's just the way it is. So, Stevie Cora, this week...
I feel pretty, oh so pretty. I feel pretty and witty and gay.
You rule!
And finally, our third You Rule Award goes to the man I interviewed last week, Jeff Stark. Because despite his, how shall we say, episodes, despite his tendency to suddenly think he's Jack Bauer at random intervals, he put on a great wrestling match, and he had promoted that wrestling match fairly well too, even in despite of his episodes. So, this week, Jeff Stark...
You rule!
Alrighty then. It is now time to move on to the You Suck Awards. This is for the people who suck. If you suck, you're gonna get a You Suck Award. How does it make you feel? Does it make you feel good? I hope not. Alright. Our first You Suck Award is going to TNT! And I'll tell you why. TNT, you got owned. Okay? Just that simple. So, this week, TNT...
There's nothing more exhilarating than pointing out the shortcomings of others, is there?
Okay, our second You Suck Award is going to Michael Brown. Now, yes, that was a good match. But it wasn't good enough. And, you didn't really do too much to promote it, in my most humble opinion. So, I'm sorry, but Michael Brown...
I suck. I suck.
And our final You Suck Award is going to, can you figure it out? Can you guess? assassin. That's right. And I'll tell you why. This is a very interesting one, you see, because assassin was just a little stupid. You see, you don't mess with a guy as big as Behemoth and not expect to receive some retaliation, at the least. Now, what you should have expected is closer to what you got, okay? What you got was a beatdown, okay? Alright? So, for being kind of a dumbo, assassin... You are an idiot! Alright, and there you have it. That was the You Rule, You Suck Awards for this week. And now, what we're going to do is we're going to play a promo from Jack, the Satanist Sabbath, and it's regarding Infected. So here's Jack's promo. Enjoy.
Russell Brown. That's it. The SWA war is officially underway. I said I'll only defend your title under 2 falls, 2 submissions, or a knockout, and your staff had to allow it. And Russell Brown, if you're stupid enough to sign the rematch contract, boy, the only way you'll be leaving that ring is either with a magnet or in a body bag. And don't forget the Hellcat outside the ring, because I, Satanist Jack Sabbath, will retain my British heavyweight title that night at the new pay-per-view, which is called something virus-laden or flu virus or something like that. But I will win the title and you can sign it, Sabbath.
Okay, well, that ended rather abruptly, but there you have it. Jack Sabbath's promo. Very strong words from the Satanist about Infected. Should be a great pay-per-view. Should be a great match for the Intercontinental Championship. The Intercontinental Championship, let me stress that. You know what? Let's do something right now. I'm going to make a little bet that I can get Jack the Satanist Sabbath to call his, quote, British heavyweight title the Intercontinental Championship at least once during the interview. Alright? And we'll see if that pans out. Okay? Now, this is the You've Got Mail segment, which, if you weren't listening to the last show for some strange reason, I will review what this segment is about. Basically, every week, I will send an email to a random superstar, chosen totally at random, and I will ask them 7 random questions. Weird questions, too. Not just, not questions about wrestling, not questions about the SWA. Totally random stuff. And they will answer it as best they possibly can. So, the receiver of my random questions this week was the Brawler. And let's see how interesting his answers were. My first question to him was salt or pepper. His answer was that he doesn't usually put salt or pepper on his food. He likes spicy stuff, but not like dumping salt or pepper on it. If you had to pick one, though, it would have to be pepper. My next question was chocolate or vanilla. He says he hates vanilla with a passion, so chocolate by far on this one. My third question was sweet or sour. He says, I hate sour stuff, so sweet definitely. Sweet stuff is awesome. My next question was vinyl or leather. His answer to this one was rather long. He said, not a huge fan of either, but there's leather on my coat, so leather it shall have to be. Yes, folks, that's right, Brawler wears a leather jacket outside the ring, and wouldn't you know it, it's not just any leather jacket, it's any New York Yankees leather jacket. Hooray, Brawler, hooray. Like we care. Anyway. My next question was, wiring, copper or cloth? Now, I think this is where Brawler's starting to sound a little bit like Aldrinix did last week. His answer was cloth. I hate copper. I literally hate it. And for that matter, I hate pennies. Wow. Okay. Sixth question was, malt or shake? He said, I always enjoy a good shake. Of course, I stay in shape, and I'm probably in the best shape of my life right now, but I can never resist a good shake. That's great. Come to the ring, I'll give you a good shake. Alright, anyway. My last question posed to Brawler was tomato or potato? He says, potato. I hate tomatoes. They disgust me, and I'm a meat and potato type of person. So those are my questions to the Brawler. Alright, so that is the You've Got Mail segment for today. And now, we're so close to the end of this show, we're going to move into the Edge recap, and then a one-on-one interview with Jack the Satanist Sabbath. But first, the Edge recap. Stay tuned. Alright. Let's jump into this Edge recap real quick, I'm almost afraid that I'll actually forget something, because there's so much in this recap. And, I don't know. It's amazing Edge card. There's no denying that you've just got to respect this Edge card. So I'm going to launch into this thing, and if I forget something, please forgive. Alright, we started off the night. Well, actually, let's start off by referring to the introduction, which actually had an interesting little factor to it. Hardcore Hendrick, Sean Atwood, and Crow Walker were in the arena, and before the show really even got started, we saw them being escorted out of the arena, which I thought was pretty cool. Alright, so now, to start off the real recap, we had TNT taking on Stevie Cora, and like I said earlier in the You Rule, You Suck Awards, TNT, you got owned. It's just the way it is. That's all I need to say about that match. TNT got owned. Okay. Next up, we had Miguel Diaz versus Michael Brown. We tried to get an interview with Miguel Diaz, but we were completely unsuccessful. We only got one word out of him, and that was no. So, it didn't work out too well. Then we had Jeff Stark taking on Kaiser. But before that, let me see if I got this right. I believe it was before that match that a new superstar in the SWA, Adrian McGrath, was attacked by CDF, Coalition for a Darker Future. I don't really know their motivation, but they did it, and so what? Oh, and after that, Steve Evans did a promo, and that promo, to me, looked more like an election campaign ad. So, this goes out to Steve Evans. So far, I'm not really intimidated by you. I was waiting for my fellow Americans. I was an F-18 pilot in the wars, and you can read about it on the internet. And let me tell you, the fact that I was a pilot, I think that qualifies me to be an excellent wrestler, because I was a pilot. Yeah. Totally different business, buddy. Anyway, Jeff Stark versus Kaiser. This was actually a wrestling match. This went beyond everyone's expectations. There was wrestling in this match. It was cool. Jeff Stark was able to win, but it was interesting because he won after going into a typical Jeff Starkian episode and becoming Jack Bauer. And after he was Jack Bauer, or thought he was Jack Bauer, he literally just beat the crap out of Kaiser. He thought Kaiser was a terrorist, and, well, that's all you really need when you're Jack Bauer. So Jeff Starks picked up the victory there. Then I came out to the ring, because I'm cool like that, and I invited Rachel to the ring, and I gave her a formal invitation to join the collective, which she accepted. So, I'm proud to say the collective now has a new member. So then we had Assassin taking on Behemoth, and like I said, this was the revenge match. Assassin tried. I'll give him that. He tried. He didn't do very well. Behemoth stomped on him just like he wanted to, and it was that simple, and it was great. It was fun, and I loved it. I loved that match, because Behemoth's the man. Now, if I've got this right, after that match, the production truck was taken over during the commercial break, and Demolition of Destruction basically threatened Kate Riley, telling her to join them or basically suffer the consequences. So, I was pretty simplistic. So there you have that. That was their little threat. Then we had Boomer and Jakester versus the Star Brothers for the number one contendership for our tag team championships. The tag team championships that Ventor and I hold. Now, I was really surprised during this match. The Star Brothers showed us some teamwork that I don't think we've ever seen from them before. I think it was their night this past Edge, and they got the victory. So, at Infected, we will be facing them for the tag titles. And if I know Ventor and myself, we will win. I'm sorry, I shouldn't hype myself up all the time, but I don't know, it just makes me feel good. You know, you go from not being a wrestler at all to being a well-known wrestler, not to mention the VP, of course, and there you go. So then we had McGoldrick versus Ironbite versus Alexander Fritz in the barbed wire and brimstone match. And I'm going to sum up this match because it was a very long match. It was a great match, but it was a very long match. So to sum it up, there was one major issue where Kellen came out with Alexander Fritz and accidentally... Well, okay, to be honest, it wasn't an accident. It was Ironbite. Ironbite threw Alexander Fritz into the ropes and into Kellen and knocked Kellen into the fire, and Alexander Fritz came tumbling after. So he was pretty badly hurt. She was very badly hurt, and she is currently in a medical facility. And I don't know where Fritz is, but I know she's definitely being looked at. But basically, to sum this match up, there was a lot of blood. Eventually, everyone ended up going through the fire, some more than most. Alexander Fritz, the most of all. Ironbite, you know, he got burnt a little bit, and McGoldrick just barely got scorched because he was sort of flying through the fire, as it were. He decided to jump off the turnbuckle and get through the fire that way, which I guess ultimately was a pretty good idea. And then after that, there was a lot of blood because of the barbed wire. They definitely used that to their advantage. Eventually, McGoldrick was... Well, actually, let me say this first. Ironbite eliminated Alexander Fritz by taking advantage of his very burnt and injured status and basically slamming into the barbed wire. And, yeah. And then McGoldrick was able to defeat Ironbite. And he did that by basically plastering him to the barbed wire cage and performing a series of very powerful martial arts maneuvers on the unmoving Ironbite, which not only drove the barbed wire deeper, but it hurt him, you know, because of the impact of the moves as well. So that was a pretty effective knockout by McGoldrick. So McGoldrick, and yes, I did forget to mention this, I know, that match was for the SWA Extreme Championship. And McGoldrick picked up the victory. And as soon as he won, however, Ironbite leapt up and attacked him, caught him completely off guard, threw him into the barbed wire, and raked his head across it. And so that busted McGoldrick open pretty good. And one more thing, because I knew I would mess up, so forgive this. That was the show, but there is one more thing. I did forget to mention that the Assassin versus Behemoth match was supposed to be a no disqualification match. And as far as the rules went, it was a no disqualification match. However, I had talked to Behemoth before the match because I was thinking about it and I realized what Behemoth was capable of. And I realized what he would do given the chance. I mean, if you saw his promo, you know what he would do. Okay, so I talked to him, and to make a long story short, it was a lot of hard work, but I did convince him to wrestle Assassin and beat him that way. Out-wrestle him. Hurt him a little, of course, but ultimately out-wrestle him, which he did very well, so I'm proud of him. So that's it for the Edge recap. And there is only one more thing left to do in this show, and that is the one-on-one interview with Jack the Satanist Sabbath. Are you ready for it? Are you? Are you? You'd better be. Because here it comes.
There's a devil waiting outside your door. There's a devil waiting outside your door. And he's bucking and braying and pawing at the floor. And he's howling with pain, crawling up the wall. There's a devil waiting outside.
Ladies and gentlemen, as I have always promised, when I promise an interview, I deliver an interview, and here I have my interviewee, the Satanist Jack Sabbath. Welcome to the studio, Jack Sabbath.
Young man, you should consider it a pleasure that I have taken a time out of my busy schedule to give you these lowly, peasantly a few minutes of my time.
Well, I do consider it a pleasure.
I didn't ask if you considered it. First question.
Okay. Well, let's just move on with the interview. You are probably one of the most shining superstars in the SWA right now because you are already the Intercontinental Champion. And not only that, you're the first Intercontinental Champion. And I think I know what's coming, but how do you feel about that?
You really are a stupid, twisted little peasant. Of course I feel marvelous about being the Intercontinental Champion. What? The British! What is the problem, young? What
I'm
do
sorry.
you find so fun?
I'm sorry,
It is
but
the British heavyweight title! And don't you forget it! The British heavyweight title. When I wake up in the morning and I slip away from Hellcat and I look into the mirror and see that British belt sitting smugly around my waist. I have that feeling that's just... It's undescribable. It's the feeling that I got as Russell Brown lay, screaming, writhing, looking up at the ceiling, listening to the 1, 2, 3.
Well, okay. Well, I apologize for the laugh, but I made a little bet with myself that I could get you to call it the Intercontinental Championship.
You failed!
Actually, I won.
Tell me, you won.
Yes.
What were you betting?
The very first thing you said was that you felt marvelous to be the Intercontinental Champion.
Well, I did. I felt absolutely marvelous to win that title.
But you then changed it to the British title, and I hear you're only going to defend it under British rules.
That's absolutely right. 2 falls, 2 submissions, or a knockout. I will challenge any of your so-called SWA wrestlers for my British heavyweight title, including you, fool.
Okay. I was expecting that. However, I am not going to take you up on that offer because I have my own plans for gaining gold. So,
I've changed my mind. You are turning into a very wise little man.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. So I wanted to talk to you about the promo that we played earlier. That was probably one of the most, how shall I put this? I don't know if heartfelt's the proper word, but definitely emotionally charged, angry promos I've ever heard from you.
Heartfelt would be the word. It's when Russell Brown lies in the ring, I will feel his heartbeat increase, and then slowly but surely fade at my hands.
I see. And so you intend to kill one of our superstars?
Most grievously.
I don't think upper management would be too happy with that. I mean, being a member of upper management myself, I know I wouldn't be too happy with that.
I didn't ask if they were happy or not. You signed me to wrestle, I will wrestle. And if that pathetic, puny little Russell Brown nose provokes me, then I will cut off his life as I would a fly.
Now, in our defense, we did sign you to wrestle, but we never signed you to murder.
Read the fine print.
I helped write the fine print, okay?
Then you should know what it says, smart boy.
I do, and there's nothing in it about murder.
Is there not? We shall see.
I think we must have been reading different contracts.
Perhaps.
Okay, well then beyond that, and this goes beyond even the Intercontinental title, the British title, whatever you want to call it.
The British Heavyweight title.
The British Heavyweight title, got it.
Correct.
Beyond that, beyond the fact that you are willing to accept challenges from anyone, what are your future plans? You know, because there's more to, wrestling than just accepting challenges and defending your title. What do you intend to do in the coming months, weeks, days?
I intend to show the SWA what British wrestling is all about. Of course I will accept challenges and defend my title as only Satanist Jack Sabbath can, but I will also enlighten these fans with a whole new concept of wrestling.
All right, British wrestling. Well, we definitely look forward to that.
Wrestling.
We definitely look forward to that. That's one of the reasons you're with us. I must admit. I'm not. None of this has been because I'm bashing you. This is in the squared circle. It's my show. I'm just making an occasional joke every now and then. It's just something I do. Something you're going to have to get used to, whether you like it or not.
But
okay, so that's all the questions I have for you. And but what I usually like to do is, since the interviews are always at the very end of the show, I always like to have the superstar I'm interviewing help close out the show for the week. So is there anything you would like to say to the fans, to any particular superstar? This is your time. Speak your piece. Say whatever you want. Do your thing.
SWA fans, you've come to the right place for the ultimate in professional wrestling, as you will see when I defend my British Heavyweight Championship. And as for you, Russell Brown, you are the first casualty of the SWA war. The casualties are piling up, and the dead will be swept away to the mob. And when it's all done, there's only going to be you left standing. Take a good look at you, midget. Russell Brown knows he'll be leaving that body bag. You can sign it.
Well. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist.
You can sign it.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I couldn't resist. You just took so long. I thought I'd, just...
And you fool. If you don't wipe that smirk off your face, we'll be next in line.
I think you may be underestimating me, just as Jeff Stark sort of did last week.
Jeff Park, as I prefer to call him, Parkkeeper, should go back to sweeping leaves. In fact, he should be sweeping leaves in a cemetery around your own little plot. Be fool who thought he was good. But I shall change it to be fool I know is bad.
Okay, well, as I am part of a very powerful and very noble stable, I am not easily intimidated. However, if it does come down to a challenge, I'm not going to back down, because I was a former SWA champion. So, if it comes to that, we'll deal with that at a later time, but this is...
Wers, and maybes. And as for stables, never underestimate Satan's little helpers. Oh, yes.
You have little helpers?
No comment.
Oh, and one more thing. At the beginning of the interview, you said when you wake up, look in the mirror and see the title around your waist. Are you saying you sleep with the title?
My handsome waist. Absolutely. That title stays around my handsome, ravishing waist. And Hellcat. Oh, is this a family show, young man?
Well, I would keep it in... Yes.
Very well, very well. Well, Hellcat, shall we say, loves it.
I'm not going there.
I'm thinking that's a wise idea.
Okay, well, this has been In the Squared Circle. I'm Be Cool, he's Jack the Satanist Sabbath. Yes. People, challenge this guy, because if you don't, he'll just keep throwing promos at me.
Keep challenging me and you will go down.
Alright, this has been In the Squared Circle. I hope you all enjoyed the show. See you next week. Have a good week.
Goodbye.